Carol Smith with X-Van Technology, and here's your tech tip for the week. This week I'm going to discuss PowerPoint presentations. There are many great features and functions in PowerPoint, but you must be careful not to abuse them. It's important to keep your presentation professional and eye-appealing to your audience. As I mentioned before, the goal of the presentation is to influence and illustrate your message. Including an outline is a great way to let your audience know what to expect. Now let's talk about fonts. It's really important that you're careful about what font you use. Stay away from cursive or script. They're harder to read. And font size. The smaller the font, the harder it is to read. So make that font a little larger and use just a regular bold or regular Arial type font, and it'll be a lot easier for your audience to see. When you're trying to decide what backgrounds to use, if you pick a solid color such as a white background with black font, I know it's a little boring, but it is the easiest for people to see. If you use bright colors, they may become very distracting. Colored backgrounds also, you need to remember that if you're going to print, you're going to use a lot more ink. So you might want to stick with a basic white background, use some color in the fonts, but don't use too many colors on one slide. If you're going to have a message, a take-home message, that's the message you should really make bolded and use a different color so that people really get the point. Otherwise, keep it pretty simple. Images are very necessary during a presentation because remember, your audience isn't only listening to you, they're also watching you. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Be careful not to use too many images. A slide should have one point, and one image is quite enough on that slide. Just make the picture relevant to the information that's on the slide. Animations can be great, but you don't want to abuse them either. You want to be careful that you don't have all these custom animations, you know, where your words fly in from the right or come from the bottom or they spin around. All of that stuff is unnecessary. So keep it simple, keep it straight, and keep the animations to a minimum. Now, we have given you a few tips that you can use when you're presenting or when you're actually making the PowerPoint presentation, but you need to remember who your audience is. You also want to make sure you rehearse your presentation before you give it. Reading word for word off a PowerPoint presentation will put your audience to sleep. So make sure that you know what you're talking about before you give the presentation and that you keep eye contact with your audience and interact with them also. And don't worry about having not said enough information. You can always give them a handout at the end that they can take home with them with more information. I hope you've enjoyed this tech tip. We'll see you next week.